first got hurt, I had no idea what my future could look like. Could I have a relationship? Could I have kids? I had so many questions. Today, I'm here with my friend Pete, who's been a dad for over 15 years. So today, we're gonna show you how to adapt to being a father in a wheelchair. So Pete, since everyone's gonna ask us in the comments anyway, tell us a little bit about your story, level of injury, how you got hurt, all that fun stuff.
All right, well, let's see here. I was riding a motorcycle like a lot of people who end up getting hurt, doing the things I love to do. And a little truck pulled out in front of me and I swerved to miss him, and I ended up taking the bike off-road, and I was really going pretty slow. I was going about 20 miles an hour, and I slid off the top of a culvert and landed flat on my back after about a 6-foot fall. And I've wrecked everything I've ever owned in my entire life, but this one little fall took it from me. Busted my T12 vertebra, and so they called it an Asia A complete injury from the waist down.
So you were already a dad at this point, right?
Yeah, so when I got hurt, I had a 3-year-old son. It was just a few days after his 3rd birthday. There's nothing like having your whole world flipped upside down, like you were saying before. You don't know what your life is going to be like, and am I going to be a father? Well, I was a father, and I didn't know how to do it. When you're a kid, you've got this vision, of how you're going to live your life, and you're developing it. I say you create a painting more or less in your mind of what you want your life to look like. And, I was well into that painting and achieving those things that I wanted. And one of those was a family. And I had this vision of what it was like to be a father. And now, after the accident, I was like, how can I do it? What do I need to do? Because all the visions of, diving to catch a football or throwing the frisbee on the beach, these were things that were a part of my vision of my future of being a dad. And now I felt like all of those things were taken from me.
So I've known Pete for over 10 years now, and I know that he is the tinkerer of all tinkerers, who makes adaptive things out of things that were originally not made for us,
Right. A lot of the stuff I have is stuff that I've just kind of put together out of stuff that already existed. I prefer to make things and spend a lot of money on things. And as you probably know, anything that you need for your wheelchair is like buying a Coke at a baseball game. Mm-hmm. It should be 75 cents, but it's $7, right? So I like to build my own stuff. So sure, I'd be more than happy to show you what I've been working on. So the first thing I really wanted to share with you guys is this adapted Segway that my wife and I put together. Before I got hurt, I spent a lot of time outside in the woods, hiking and camping. I've been to South America to go mountaineering. I've been all over the country. I've mountaineered in Europe, and being outside and in touch with nature has always been really important to me. And after I got hurt, it was tough to get on any kind of trails or, to be outside in the woods, let alone the beach. And I started poking around and thinking about Segways, and Segway makes this X2 that has the big knobby tires on it. And I felt like if I could adapt that, then that would give me access to everything that I really want. My first idea was to get a wheelchair to mount on it. And I started poking around the internet and found out that people were already making kits to put on Segways. Some of them are really, really expensive. $7,000 for the adaptation and $7,000 for the Segways, $14,000. Take a look at my line of cars here. I've never had a $14,000 car, We found an affordable one that didn't quite meet my needs, so we called the manufacturer, Seg Solutions USA. They adapted it for me in ways that I asked them to, and then they shipped it to me. We got it home, we tweaked it a little bit more, And now we've been on the Appalachian Trail. We go camping, and I've been on the beach with it. It's probably the coolest thing ever, because ask yourself, when did walking matter? Maybe if I had a daughter and I was going to walk her down the aisle, or you want to walk down the beach holding your wife's hand, right? And those are meaningful moments when you're walking, right? But in the morning when you just scratch your butt and get out of bed and walk to the bathroom, I mean, that's not meaningful, right? And you can get there any old way, but this put me on the beach with my wife, holding her hand in the sunset, right? And I could cry right now thinking about it. I mean, that's meaningful. That's living. Part of being a good father is also being a good husband, right? Because parenting is teamwork. And so I can't stand the idea of my wife doing all the kid leg work. You know, she does a lot. And so I need to be able to contribute as well. And so coming up with some way to, you know, be more participative in managing the children while we're out and about is super valuable to both of us. And so I look around, I start thinking about what do I have and what can I do. And so yeah, this fills that role now. So we adapted this hook on the back. And so what I do is I take the little wagon that we use to pull the kids around, and I put the handle here, and I just throw that down, and I can pull the kids behind me. And my wife doesn't have to carry all of our stuff to the beach. We can put all the stuff and the kids in the wagon, and I can take them all to the beach, and then she's carrying the margaritas. It's a little bit
Here, I'll just get out
sloppy, and people might go, oh, that's cheating. Here's the thing, I made this for me, I didn't make it for you. If my transfer onto this thing looks like something you couldn't do, build your own. All right, so to do my transfer, my legs work a little bit. I wear braces. My legs don't work as well as Richard's, but I kind of get myself into an awkward position that the neighbors get frightened by. And then I pull the cushion off my chair. I put it on here because it's always important to protect your skin. And then I will sit back on it, and it'll go into balance mode. And there's always that moment of anything could happen. So when you get a Segway, it typically has a steering column that comes up the middle with handlebars, and you lean, kind of move your weight forward to go forward, and you kind of move your weight back to go back. And then the steering in the middle is for turning right and left. But because I need to be able to get on and off it like that, we use this steering that's off to the side. So if I move it to the left, I go to the left. If I move it to the right, I go to the right. So like I was saying before, I've got this little clasp, super simple thing that I've attached to the back here. And so I can take the handle like that, and then that's really enough to pull the wagon. I can pack it up with whatever I want. I can throw the kids in there, or I can throw Richard in there.
Throw Richard in.
All right, onward.
To the store. When in doubt, pinky out.
Another thing that I've learned to do with this is help my son on his bike. He's 2.5 years old. He's riding one of these pedalless Strider things, and he loves to go fast. So I can just scoot alongside him and coach him on how to go quickly through the turns.
Let's go, fast, fast, fast. Fast, fast, fast. Go, go, go. I mean, that Segway was really awesome, but I would imagine you probably didn't have it in the very beginning, yeah?
Yeah.
When you were first hurt, what were some of the basics? Like, What were the first thoughts on your mind about how are you going to be a dad?
Well, as I'm sure you remember, your whole life is upside down. And so for me, the first thing that I needed to do was like weigh in on what's most important in my life. And I had a 3-year-old son at the time, and that quickly weighed in as my priority, right? Here I am trying to deal with my physical self and my emotional self, and I needed to be able to provide a stable emotional environment for this baby that I brought into the world that I'm responsible for the rest of his life. That was the biggest first hurdle.
So no, definitely the mental aspect, as you just mentioned, is some of the toughest. And then you started developing wheelchair skills that were very specific to being a father.
The first thing you really got to do is get the use of your wheelchair under control, because the most useful thing that was pretty easy really was to get a wheelie down, right? Because I'm going to soccer practice. That means I got to get down to the edge of the field from the parking lot, usually down a grass hill, maybe over some gravel, and then out to the side of the field so I can cheer alongside with all the other family members. Probably the most difficult thing that I needed to learn in the beginning about wheelchair management was the floor transfer, right? Because where do kids play? They play on the floor, right? I had a 3-year-old son. We needed to put together race tracks, train tracks, open presents, put together puzzles. All that stuff happens on the floor, so I had to be able to get down on the floor and get back up and not struggle. And so I spent a lot of time practicing that on my own when everybody was gone, so that I could be good at it.
I'm going to link my Wheelchair Basics playlist right up here, and you'll be able to learn all these skills we've just been talking about.
So I do have a low level of injury like yours, so my back muscles work and my stomach muscles work. But even if they didn't, a good pair of overalls like this, and then if you don't have a pair of overalls on your baby, I found that if you scoop under and do a little lift, make sure you got your balance right. If you got your balance right, you just scoop the whole baby. Scoop the baby.
I know a lot of parents, I'm sure, when they first get hurt, start to think about all the things they can't do anymore. Like, oh no, I can't carry my kid and go for a walk anymore, especially if they're young.
My wife gets to put the baby on her hip and walk around and do something with the other hand, but as you know, we need both of our hands just to get from here to there, and so a temporary holding of the baby with one hand is pretty tricky, and if the baby's not sturdy enough to just plop in your lap because you're worried about the baby falling over, you really need a carrier of some sort. And I didn't actually make this carrier, but I found it online, and it was important to me to have something that felt true to myself. I'm not interested in wearing a baby Bjorn. I'd like for something to be kind of rugged and tough, because that's how I like to think of myself, whether I'm right or not. So I got this one. It's called Mission Critical, and I can put my baby in there, and it's got all the stuff that you want to have in there. So this is perfect, because if I find myself in Afghanistan, just grab a mag, reload, pop, 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 pop. I don't know, it just feels more like me, But once the baby's big enough, I found that I can just put the baby in my lap. I drop one leg down between my legs like that, let him kind of straddle one.
So he doesn't kind of...
And then, we're pretty bomb-proof right now, We can do baby play. We can go... I'm pushing my wheelchair through a parking lot, taking my 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old to the grocery store, and I'm shorter than most parked cars, and so I'm worried about whether or not people can see me as I'm moving through the parking lot with my kid, and I've got one hand in my, full of my kid's hand, and the other hand I'm trying to, push the wheelchair across the parking lot, and I'm trying to look out, like, where is everybody, and how good a control do I have over this moment? And it really made me uneasy, so I wanted to develop something that I could have the kids come along with me. And so this is a prototype of the first thing that I built, and we called it the Be Along. So what I did was I took the anti-tip bars. You may recognize these as anti-tip bars from like your first wheelchair. So I cut them up and welded them together, and this is a foot plate off of a different type of wheelchair. And this plugs in to where the anti-tip bars go. The prototype had a caster on it here so that as they're riding along, they had support on the ground.
Kind of like a sports chair.
Like a sports chair, sort of, except for the brackets for this were left loose. So as I'm going up and down hills, it's allowed to pivot on the axle. And as I turn, of course, the caster does the turning for them as well. And we called it the Be Along, and the kids could stand on that. Then when they get a little bit bigger, there's that support bar that goes across the back of your chair that ties it together. I just have them stand on there.
Pretty much every wheelchair has one of these bars towards the back of the backrest. If kids' feet are tiny enough and they can grab onto your shoulders, it's a good way to be safe in parking lots and have them up a little bit higher and have a fun time.
A benefit of having them up on the back of the chair like that, like you mentioned, is that you're taller, you got better control of your wheelchair, and you can manage the circumstances better if they get nasty all of a sudden. Something that I didn't anticipate that came out of it is people saw it and they've never seen that before, and they smiled because it was cute. A father and a son having a good moment together, and the kid is smiling because he's going for a ride. People are smiling at that, they're smiling back, so the kid doesn't have any kind of like negative feeling about being with his dad in the wheelchair, and that's totally secondary. I didn't anticipate that at all, but we got a great positive response from the community seeing us doing that.
And it teaches kids a lot about inclusivity. My nephew, he thinks that the wheelchair is so cool that he wants one when he grows up. He tells me, I can't wait till I get old enough to have my own wheelchair. And because of that, you automatically become the coolest parent. And I think a lot of people initially, I know I felt this way, felt trapped by the wheelchair, felt confined by the wheelchair, didn't like all the extra attention. I just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to be ignored. But if you can flip the script in your mind and use it to your advantage,
you kind of have to, right? Because if you woke up one day and you were purple, and you were going to be purple for the rest of your life, people are going to notice that you're purple. And there's nothing that you can do about that. Smile at them, show them that purple people are okay, especially children. Because children are going to make of this whatever we show them it is. If I am trapped and confined by this life, my kids will know it. But if I'm liberated and I'm having fun and we're going and living life to its fullest, that's what they're going to know about it, is that it's just different. It's not worse or better, it's just different.
As we know, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and there's some have-tos you have to do with some babies. So
yeah. Well, I'm kind of familiar with touching poop these days, so being close to baby's diapers, no big deal. Why don't I show you how to do that?
Let's go check it out.
I had a changing table for my first son, and it was about this high, and so the idea of changing a diaper up like this, it's rough on your shoulders, it's hard to see what you're doing. Even on regular countertops, chopping vegetables like this is hard, so I try to do everything down a little bit lower. And so I found that changing the diaper right on the edge of the bed is a great way for me to do things.
Yeah, and so I've definitely seen some people even like modify desks And in the drawers off to the side, they've got, diapers and creams and wipes and stuff, and they roll underneath it, but it's not a requirement.
I do everything on a shoestring budget because I don't have the liquid asset to just go buy all these custom things. So for me, I can do it on the edge of the bed. So I usually just take a towel, just throw it out on the edge of the bed just in case there's anything. So then I just take the baby, I put him on there, boom, put him down, and we even do cloth diapers. Luckily we're just dealing with pee today. Get in there, get this, get all the frumundus and the twinkstas. You gotta get it all clean, right? And then I take the new diaper and I pick him up with both feet like that, like you hog tying him. For all you country people like me. And I just snap it up. Nothing to it. Don't be scared, y'all.
Yeah, I think a lot of different injuries will probably have a lot of different comments when it comes to core strength. And
right.
My only reply to that is you have to find what works for you.
That's right.
Everyone has their own recipe to doing things. This is just one way of doing this.
And I've gotten really sneaky. I mean, I do have all my core muscles that work, but I've gotten really sneaky about how I support myself. Like just then, you may not have noticed, but I have my elbow on the bed. So that helps me provide support, and I can pick him up with my elbow on the bed, like that, my hand on the bed, and on the back, right? And Mama didn't have to do it, so happy Mama.
And that kind of touches back to what you were saying earlier, is that you want to find an equal balance of partnership. Me and the relationship I have with my girlfriend, we don't have your traditional relationship. We have different roles that each of us are good at, and we try to keep it as fair as possible, as 50-50 as possible. Just as long as you're contributing, like your masculinity is not threatened. If you're the one doing the cooking and she's the one mowing the yard, like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's
okay,
That's right. Because all we're trying to do is be happy, right? This is the pursuit of happiness. And if the team's happy, the team's happy.
What are some other words of encouragement that you have?
Well, it's hard. First of all, it's going to be hard for anybody. It doesn't matter your level of injury. It doesn't matter if you broke your neck or your back way down low. It's the hardest thing you've ever had to do, right? So that's kind of a great equalizer. I do understand that my challenge is not the same challenge as really anybody else, right? Because we're all unique. I've got friends with high levels of injury who have been great fathers, and they've done it too. So give yourself some time to get your wheels under you, so to speak, so that you can become good at being you. When it comes to your children, they're going to make of this what you show them it is, right? So if you feel trapped, you'll look trapped. If you feel defeated, you'll look defeated. It takes patience. It took me about 2 years to get myself kind of together and feeling confident and courageous enough to like really start rolling myself out as myself again. I think that you have to give yourself the latitude to not be successful on your first try at pretty much anything that you do. We live in a time where if we want something, it's pretty easy to obtain it, especially here in this country. But these goals are not easy to obtain, right? So you got to give yourself that time and that patience to work towards those goals, right? And during that time, your kids are going to make of it whatever you show them it is. If you're defeated or struggling, then that's what they're going to see about you. But if you're positive and you're working hard towards your goals, that's good. And the difference between struggle and working hard, I think, is your attitude. Everybody's heard fake it till you make it, right? There's some truth to that. You put a face on it, you go out there, you work hard, and that helps you get through that moment. And then at the end of that 2 years, you're there. The challenging part for most people, myself included, is the want, right? Because the easy side of this is to be defeated, right? To let it win. And the hard part is to want to succeed despite the challenges that you have in front of you. And if you can develop the want, then you can develop the pathway to your goal.
Thank you so much for showing us around, Pete, and all the things you've done to adapt to becoming a father. I think it's really important that you're willing to show this to me and even to the viewers here.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.